In this video, it's the return of my Daewoo Matiz. Just collected it after its MOT. It's all good now. But I'm just stopped here. I've visited my friends Jasper and Mavis. Live here in Trisant. And these beautiful views could be yours because this static caravan is available to rent on Airbnb. And I would recommend it. They're lovely people. It's a lovely, peaceful location if you just want to get away from it all. They've redone the bathroom, so it's not a static caravan bathroom anymore. It's all good. But I'll get you mounted up. We'll go for a drive, discuss what was done for the MOT. Oh. Well, I was going to start that all over again. What the heck? The heater fan has started working again. It didn't work when I picked the car up. The heated rear window apparently also working. The rear view mirror did fall off and I've not got the temporary one in here anymore, so that's a shame. I'm going to operate the rear windscreen wiper anyway just because I like to. And we'll set off. So yeah, I have a heater again. Thank you, Myrtle. I don't know why. I was foreseeing I was going to have to take all this out and try and find a loose connector, but apparently not. Apparently we're all good. Still need some new wiper blades. That one's not very good. I will order them up now. We've got the car back and we're off. So yeah, out in the sticks, beautiful part of the world up here. We'll just take a quick nip down this road, get ourselves to Aberystwyth, and we'll head back down the coast to where I live. So MOT work on Myrtle. The failure was emissions. That was the only one on this test. The previous test, it was emissions and rear brake pipes. I just got an advisory on the brake pipes this time, but I just thought if they've got the car up in the air, they might as well do it, and it'll save me an awful lot of time and effort, because you know I'm going to get it wrong. I'm going to break something. By the time I've got the pipes and the unions, found my flare tool, yeah, it was well worth paying whatever it was I was charged. The total bill for all the work, including the MOT test, was £350. They're not the cheapest for an MOT test, but there's a minimum price you're allowed to charge, and then garages can charge what they like on top of that. So I think £39 is the cheapest an MOT can ever be, and that's to stop people completely undercutting each other. I think I don't really know why, but certainly that's the case. So 54 is not the cheapest, but I like the lads there. I think they do a good job. They do a very fair MOT. A little bit of a hump here. Ooh. So I'm happy to support them. It's not easy making a living with a rural business, a rural garage business around here. So yeah, I'm very happy to give them my business. So the cat, I think, was about 60-70 quid, probably without the VAT, and we hope it'll last. We hope it'll continue. The exhaust note sounds very, very slightly different, as we'll find out in a moment once I actually get to an open section of road. But yeah, it's good to go, and it's another car back on the fleet, and I'm glad that has started working. I don't know, it might just be a corroded connector somewhere, and now there's electricity flying around the car again, which there wasn't for months. It's decided to work. It's just beautiful around here. It's all very misty and murky today, but even when it's misty and murky, it's beautiful. That drive along there to Llanfihangel Craven is absolutely astonishing. I used to do a bus run that took me down to the school down there, which was quite the experience, let me tell you, especially if you met someone coming the other way. Pause here, it's just a bit of a crest. But yeah, it's usually beautiful. Today it's mostly mist, but there you go. You come here for the peace and quiet to escape it all. It doesn't really matter what the weather does. Yeah, I really do need some new wiper blades, don't I? I don't think these wiper blades are particularly old. They're Bosch. And I'm starting to go off Bosch blades. They just don't seem to last. They start doing this chattering very, very early in life. And that annoys me. There's that noise. There's a slight howl to the exhaust. It's Very peculiar, but nonetheless nice, I think, overall. So this is just the start of trying to get sort of cars back in use again. Foxanne is still up in Wakefield at the moment. I'm hoping to collect her next week. She's had an insane amount of work done, absolutely loads. So I'll be sharing the details of that with you. I might have to stop and read through the list of works carried out when I go to collect her, because it's considerable. Now, I'm doing some more tests, some very interesting. I'll put some frigging lights on. More tests along the way as well, so that should be a fun trip, another bit of a road trip. But I'm told she is very, very, very different to drive. So I'm really, really looking forward to getting her back. And this all helps share the mileage out, because at the moment, or well, until recently, Betty the Ford Fairmont was doing all of the miles, and that was a bit harsh on her. I didn't really buy her for her to be the default daily driver. I certainly didn't imagine the fuel costs associated with that. So it'd be nice to get some of the little economical cars out and back in use and share some of the mileage, especially the local mileage, which is the worst thing to do in Betty. Betty is a distance machine. Pottering around locally, she's too big, too thirsty, and she doesn't handle well enough, which may seem a strange thing for someone driving a Daewoo Matiz to say, but nonetheless is the case. Oh, sorry, the tea is repeating on me. We may have drunk quite a lot of tea and done quite a lot of chatting. It's so lovely to be able to get out and do that again. Yeah, this view is, that's one of my favourite views in all of Wales, is that view there, but unfortunately you can't see it today. But yeah, it's good to have this car back, and even better that the heater has actually decided to work. That is good times. So I know some of you may be disappointed that I'm farming work out and not filming that work, but it's worth remembering my motivation to start the Hubnut channel wasn't to make a tinkering channel. I love to cover the tinkering that I do, even though I make such a ham-fisted mess of it. I do like to actually share that, but what I'm primarily trying to do is share my enjoyment of cars, and most of my enjoyment rather comes from being in this position behind the wheel. I like driving the cars, and the fleet has such a to-do list. There is no way I can do all of the jobs that are necessary. It's just not feasible. So I'm gonna have to farm jobs out and try and focus on certain cars to do tinkering projects. The 2CV, the Invacar, the Alt-Sit are probably the key ones for that, and other jobs are just gonna have to be farmed out as and when they're needed, just to keep things working. Although it's nice once I get more vehicles out and more of them actually work. Obviously you've got that, if one of them fails, you can take it off the road and sort the problems out. You haven't got to worry about getting around or getting to the shops, because there's cover within the fleet. And that wasn't the case over the winter. There were plenty of times where we just had to rely on the Ford Fairmont, and that was slightly scary, as is having a lady walking in the road just here. "60 mile an hour through here." We're driving through a village. It's insane. It shouldn't be 60. I'm not doing 60, and that is kind of one of the reasons why. Because pedestrians don't have anywhere to be other than in the road. That wiper's really irritating me. The other car I need to talk about that we are going to be doing work on is the Daihatsu Charade. Today is Monday, tomorrow is Tuesday. We've got an engine arriving, and I don't know how long it's going to take. It's probably going to turn into a series of videos, but I'm hopeful it won't take us too long to do the engine swap. There's some discussion about the best way of getting the engine out and therefore in. We have to come through the top, come through the front, come through underneath. There's a few options on the Daihatsu, but me and Miss Hubnut are hoping to tackle that work ourselves. So it should be educational for her, if nothing else. And in truth, I think it's taken me too long to get to the point of deciding an engine swap is the best solution. Because the thing is, there's a reason. If a car has a head gasket failure, a lot of people will just replace the engine rather than try and sort the head gasket failure out. And there's a reason for that, and that's because it's easier. Engines are designed to come in and out fairly easily because that's how they're assembled at the factory. And to actually dig into it, they're not so much designed for you to dig into the engine. Older cars were. Overhead valve engines, pretty simple to do a head gasket on. But more modern engines, it's a lot more complex, and you're often better off just getting a complete replacement engine, because ultimately you unplug things that are attached to the engine, the fuel, the electrics, coolant, etc. You take the engine out and you put the new one in and you plug it in. It's arguable whether there's any mechanicking involved in that. I'm sure it isn't going to be as easy as I hope it's going to be, but nonetheless, I think it's going to be a lot easier than trying to dismantle that engine in situ and rebuild it, especially as that engine's done well over 130,000 miles, so has had a pretty good innings. Shout out to Mighty Car Mods, who are doing exactly the same, really. They also have an L251 Charade that they are trying to make work, shall we say. And they're similarly struggling with parts supply and an engine that is not very healthy. Sheer neglect in their case. It's all gummed up with old oil. Obviously not had very many engine oil changes. But interesting to note, the Japanese ones, the Australian ones, don't have the variable valve timing. They are the EJDE engine, whereas the Charade uses a VE with variable valve timing. And Marty was saying that the reason those engines struggle is because they get revved silly all the time. That's not the case, because the VVTs, you don't need to rev them because they've got variable valve timing. They have amazing torque delivery. The torque delivery is so much stronger than this car. I'm sorry about the wipers. So yeah, that's not why. But the oil control rings are a problem on those engines, and if you've neglected oil changes, it just makes the problem all the worse. But anyway, I think that's probably enough waffle, really, isn't it? I've got Myrtle back, so that's good. I've got a working heater fan, so that's good times. And I just need to re-stick the mirror again. I think it might be time to speak to a windscreen company and try and get them to fit a working sticky thing, because they tend to have good ones, because they're windscreen people and they do it all the time. So yeah, I'm going to continue on down to Aberystwyth, and you can join me in a future video. I'm not going to pitch you because you're all the way over there on the passenger window, but love this bend. Woo! This is where Tuck snapped a belt many years ago. I was just coming along here and she snapped a drive belt, the only time she's done that. Oh, it's quite windy today, and I'm reminded that Matiz is slab-sided and catches the wind very, very well. But yeah, very happy to have little Myrtle back on the road again. I've got some more work to do, and then she'll probably be going to Crown for a bit of rust proofing as well. Oh, got a recycling bin in the road there. The problem with recycling bins, they get emptied, they've got no weight in them, get left roadside, and then they fall into the road. Something I need to address as I accelerate up this hill is the reason I don't teach Miss Hubnut to drive in the Matiz. There's a couple of reasons. One is that the interior mirror keeps falling off, which is less than ideal if you're learning to drive. The other one is this car isn't very easy to drive slowly. I suspect I've still got a bit of an issue with it, certainly idling. So it just makes it a bit inconsistent, and that's not what you want in a car you're trying to learn to drive in. I will try and fix it, because that's rubbish. I want the car to be better to drive, but it does make it unsuitable. The other reason is the Daewoo is the only car on the fleet that's insured for Miss Hubnut, because she's a learner driver. So it would involve quite a lot of faff and no doubt some ridiculous admin charges because the insurance company, if I decided to try and swap things around. So it's a lot easier just to leave things as they are. I must admit, I wasn't anticipating the Charade being off the road for quite as long as it has been. But there we go, that's just how that has panned out. Anyway, I'm doing a very good job of going. Bye!